I'm Vivi Doodles, author of Quiet Crossings, and this is the True North Country Comics podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. On this episode, I chat with Vivi Partridge about the new graphic novel Quiet Crossings from Conundrum Press. Please like and subscribe to this website by hitting the subscribe button so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Vivi Partridge is a queer emerging artist from Toronto, Ontario. Recently graduated from Seneca Polytechnic's illustration course, Vivi has tabled at many comic expos across Canada and the US, including Comic-Con, TCAF, VANCAF, and MCAF. Vivi is also a painter with work featured in galleries and coffee shops in Southern Ontario, including Northern Contemporary, Worth Gallery, and the Proudest Pony. Vivi is one of the co-founders and editors of the PPCrew Art Collective. The newest graphic novel from Vivi is Quiet Crossings from Conundrum Press. The story of Quiet Crossings goes like this. After crashing her car in the unfamiliar countryside, Selena agrees to help out at the nearby inn in exchange for a room. Located on the edge of the world, the inn attracts extraordinary customers from near and far. The most popular attraction is the complimentary ferry ride to the Great Unknown, a mysterious shore past the edge of the world. But when no one ever travels back, Selena begins to feel uneasy. Is the innkeeper Alice really as nice as she seems? What secret does the ferryman hold? And should Selena be packing her bags and hailing the nearest taxi? One thing's for sure, Selena's never had a job like this before. So without further ado, here's my chat with Vivi Partridge about the new graphic novel Quiet Crossings from Conundrum Press. So Vivi Partridge, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time. Before we get going with all the questions, I would like to know, what was the first comic book that you read?
So this one actually throws me for a bit of a loop. My mom is a children's book author, so we just always had books in the house. It's hard to pinpoint which one would have been the first. I did read a good amount of Calvin and Hobbes, as well as a French book series I used to read called Les Enfants d'Ailleurs. It was cut off after like 6 volumes, and I never knew what the ending was, and it was very frustrating to me as a child.
Oh no, sorry to hear. Did it give you any inspiration to continue the story on your own?
Oh, for sure. I used to like kind of sit around school with a bunch of my friends who were reading it at the time and just kind of try to figure out what we thought the ending was going to be.
That's pretty cool. Well, good stuff when you're growing up, but I'm wondering who or what inspires you to create today?
So I live in Toronto, and there's just such a huge comics community here. I'm always inspired by seeing my peers and my friends work on their projects, as well as just like going to the library and finding a book I would have never picked out before, and just finding like tunneling in on someone else's career and what their art practice is. That's always quite inspiring to me.
Absolutely. There's always something new at the library, for sure. So we're here talking about your latest graphic novel, Quiet Crossings. So I'm wondering, how would you describe that book to someone?
Quiet Crossings is a magic realism book. It is a very short graphic novel for YA kind of audience. I can give you like a short synopsis if that would.
Sure, please.
Yeah, so like we follow our protagonist, Selena. She's 17 years old, and she crashes her truck in the countryside. So until she can get it fixed up and on her way, she works at an inn. And the inn has all sorts of weird customers and like fun little sprites that are living around the inn. And all the customers are given option to go on this ferry. There's a ferryman who lives there, and he'll take you right past the edge of the lake to a place called the Great Unknown, but no one ever comes back. And so Selena's kind of stuck grappling with this and like, is this ethical? Should people be going there? Should we be letting people go there?
Wow, that's a very intriguing story, that's for sure. What was your inspiration for the book?
I had like a moment of inspiration, as kind of cheesy as that sounds, but I was in the middle of a kind of rickety breakup, and I was spending time at my grandparents' house, and I was realizing how older they got every time I was visiting and feeling quite introspective about all that. And I was listening to an album like on repeat, and there was a song where someone talks about smoking a cigarette at the edge of the world. And there was something about that that illustrated such like a picture in my head that I was like, I think there's a story there. I could dig into a story and kind of explore all these themes that I've been thinking of.
It's been
hmm
said that you should always first create for yourself, but who ultimately is a target audience for your books? You mentioned YA. Is that the actual audience?
Yeah, my target audience is people between 14 and 17. There's a lot of talk about dealing with grief as well as mental health issues in this book. And I know when I was growing up and when I was in high school, there was a lot of kids around my age and like my friends and such that were dealing with pretty bad mental health. And I wanted to make a book kind of in retrospective for a younger me and for someone around that age as kind of like an offering.
I'd like to switch gears a wee bit and talk about your creative process. I'd like to ask you a little bit about the tools used to create your art.
I illustrated all of Quiet Crossings traditionally with pen and ink. I wasn't working with nib because nib pens and like I constantly smudging stuff and I didn't want to have to go back and fix a lot of stuff. So I used Tombow brand kind of flex nib pens. So that's how I inked the book. Other than that, I worked very in like any kind of material I was kind of finding in black and white, just like loose sketches in multiple sketchbooks and trying to compile all of that was a bit of a bit of a disaster, but we got through it.
Now, did you have the script all written out first and then you attacked the illustrations, or was it a little bit of both?
I did try to write down the script first, and then I did thumbnailing just with a loose Sharpie pen that I had. And then once I was going back in for inking, I was like noticing beats that it didn't quite fit my original script. And so I was editing it a little bit more as I was doing the sketches and then refining it with inking.
I was reading your bio. It says that you graduated from Seneca Polytechnic's illustration course. I wanted to know if that course prepared you for a professional career in making graphic novels.
Yeah, it really, really did. I took the course. It's supposed to be, I think, a 2-year course, but I had taken it right before the pandemic and then took a summer off. And then when I tried to get back into it, COVID happened. So I took 2 more years off. At the end of the whole thing, I had spent 6 years trying to complete a 2-year program. But the teachers there were so nice and always like so encouraging. Lots and lots of folks that like were teaching in that program were a part of comics, even if they were teaching other subjects. Like my life drawing teacher is Calman. I think he's been on this podcast. I had Martha Newbigging as my comics teacher, like directly for that course, as well as like Joanne Purcell, who does a bunch of comics as well, is like the head of the illustration department. So yeah, there was a lot of support for comics specifically, as well as if I had mentioned that like I'm very into comics, they were like, we have so many resources. We have this in the library. You should check out this book. Just a lot of great teachers and great support with that program.
Glad to hear. Like, it's not just the technical stuff that they provide to you and the know-how. It's more about life lessons that you need to succeed in this business, I guess, too.
Yeah, yeah. Their program for like marketing and doing social media was very helpful. But also like I made my basically the pitch packet or like my pilot comic for Quiet Crossings in my comics class. Like that was my thesis project was pretty much chapter 1 of this. And I showed up to TCAF with a bunch of copies of this little chapter 1. Just kind of showed it around to anyone who would look and I was like, "Do you have feedback for me?" And Conundrum was really interested with my pitch. And they're like, "Do you think you could turn this into a full story?" And I was like, "I definitely could. And I do think I know where I'm going with it." And yeah, Sal kind of scooped me up and went, all right, we have a 2-year deadline, get this done. Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, that sounds pretty exciting. How is it working though with the major publication house versus self-publishing?
It is really fun. Conundrum's really like lax on letting me do my thing and just kind of checking in on me when I need it. Everyone I worked with there is super nice, and then they're dealing with all the fun marketing stuff that I don't know quite how to deal with yet. Self-publishing, it's very much because I've done like a good amount of zines. I'll have the product at the end, which is great, but then I don't know how to get it into stores.
That's a
So
trick.
working with Conundrum was great because, yeah, they definitely know how books work, and like they're telling me about the importance of pre-orders. I'm like, oh, I didn't know it had such a huge impact. So yeah,
I think that's actually a bigger factor today, not just with graphic novels, also with comic books themselves. I see people online, they're saying there's more encouragement going in, saying, if you want this comic book and you hear about it, go in and place your order because it might not be there because of limited
yeah,
quantity or whatever the case may be. So having interest at the outset really does help.
oh yeah, for sure.
So we've been talking about Quiet Crossings. I got to ask you, though, do you have any other projects on the go that you can talk about?
Yeah, actually, I do. I have an upcoming autobio comic coming out with In-Service Comics this spring. I don't think the announcement's been put out officially yet, but I wasn't told I'm not allowed to talk about it. So
Okay.
I'll take the moment to do that.
We'll just keep it between ourselves for the time being. How about that?
Yeah, this is an early promo, sneak peek. The title is going to be Vivisect. It's a nice little framing of a part of my life where I was kind of on my own and trying to figure everything out for the first little bit.
Something to look forward to. How about shows or events? I know that it's been quite busy this year with all sorts of festivals and shows and that sort of thing. Do you have anything on the go planned for the rest of the year?
For the winter and like we're going into fall right now, I'm probably just going to be doing more local events. But starting back up in spring, I'll be doing the little kind of like the tour of all the CAFs. We've got like TCAF, MCAF, and a few others. I'll be doing all the little like spring runarounds of comic shows.
So it sounds like you're going to be busy. So with that in mind, I got to ask you, where should people go online to find out more about what you're doing today and tomorrow?
You can find me online on Instagram at Vivi_doodles. I'm also Vivi Doodles on pretty much every other kind of social media site that'll have me. And I also have a website at www.vividoodles.ca.
Thanks to Vivi for the chat. You can discover more about Vivi Partridge online at vividoodles.ca and on Instagram at Vivi_doodles. And you can discover more about Quiet Crossings on Conundrum Press. And thank you for tuning in to the True North Country Comics podcast. I invite you to visit the True North Country Comics website to listen to even more conversations from creators on making comic books and graphic novels. I also encourage you to subscribe via the website so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can follow along True North Country Comics on most social media sites, and you're encouraged to send any and all feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2025.